Hey, this is Joe Bacino from the All-American Legacy Podcast. We're 3 weeks away from All-American Week 100, May 22nd through May 25th, here on Fort Bragg. It's going to be the biggest All-American Week ever. It's going to celebrate the Centennial. We hope to see you there. We need to see you there. Okay, here is our show for today.
This is the 82nd Airborne Division, fearless among fighting units.
From Fort Bragg, home of the Airborne and the center of the military universe, this is the All-American Legacy Podcast. An inside look at the 100-year history of the 82nd.
They are All-American all the way.
Welcome back to the All-American Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Master Sgt. Dan Bailey. Today, I sit down with Command Sergeant Major Michael Green. Known as All-American 9, he is the 82nd Airborne Division senior enlisted member. We're going to talk about All-American Week 100, the Centennial, and a couple of new initiatives going on within the division. For those that don't know what All-American Week is, it's the division's annual celebration of its airborne heritage, consisting of a series of events dedicated to maintaining close ties with the division alumni, families, and the local community. This year marks a century of service for the All-American Division, and All-American Week 100 will serve as the biggest occurrence of this annual celebration. So without further ado, let's jump into the conversation. All right, well, thank you for joining us, Sergeant Major. I guess, first of all, can you set our listeners up for All-American Week 100 this year? What we can expect, what's going to be happening?
Well, first I got to say, this year, there's going to be a little bit something for everyone. All-American Week is going to be all-inclusive, and we're really focused on our family involvement. We're going to do some extra activities this year that maybe we haven't been able to do in years past and improve them. For example, we're going to do a family 5K fun run. Being in the division, you always hear stories of running down Ardennes and listening to cadence, and those stories are told Army-wide. But our families never really get to experience that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a 5K fun run on Tuesday night. You know, I hope everybody will come out and have that opportunity to feel that experience that our paratroopers feel every morning. We're going to do a combat fitness test for the paratroopers, but we're opening up that individual family members that sign waivers, they can test their grit against our paratroopers and sort of see where they measure out. You know, and then, you know, long awaited, where our jump towers are back open, and we're going to open up the jump towers so that individuals can come down and experience what it feels like to jump from a 34-foot tower as part of All-American Week. You know, and then lastly, during the Airborne Review, there's going to be several family-friendly events out there, M-Razor rides and face painting for the kids, opportunities for people to actually rig up into parachutes and the equipment and just feel what it's like to wear a parachute and wear the equipment that we ask our paratroopers to wear every day. Additionally, you know, we have things for the alumni. So we're going to do the normal alumni march, but this year we're calling it our alumni All-Americans Legends March. And what we're going to do is we're going to segregate by period of service, and we're going to march them pass review in front of the division paratroopers as we're all formed up and give everybody the opportunity to execute the pass and review there. We expect this to be the biggest record airborne operation in the last decade. And so we're really hoping that a lot of the community comes out and supports it. We're hoping that our alumni come out and observe this because we really think this year is going to be special. One of the other, I guess, big things I'd be remiss if I didn't mention is how we're going to do our combatives finals this year. Oh, by the way, we're going to do boxing as well. You know, it's been a few years since we've had boxing available. This year we'll do the combatives and boxing, and the finals are going to be held at Towel Stadium. So picture, if you will, the entire division out there on the hillside around, and down there on the stadium floor, 2 rings, you know, with the combatives finals going, and then alternating between the combatives final and the boxing finals, just back and forth on the weight classes. I really think it's going to be a special night.
Well, that'll be awesome, Sergeant Major. And hopefully for that outdoor finals for the combatives and boxing, we can get that Fort Bragg PT weather bubble that normally goes up, you know, from the hours of 6:30 to 7:45 every day that keeps the rain at bay. That'll be in place for that night.
Well, you know, Fort Bragg's the center of the universe, and the weather here is always nice.
Very true, Sergeant Major, very true. So, Sergeant Major, you mentioned the Centennial. This is our 100th anniversary. Are we doing anything different this year to commemorate the Centennial during All-American Week 100?
You know, the Centennial is not about a single event. It's the culmination of all the events. It's all of the All-American Weeks building up to this. You know, it's those veterans that are out there that are our forefathers that laid the groundwork for where we're at today.
It's like Sergeant Major Merritt, Gawita, Rath.
You know, it's veterans like Sergeant Major retired Capel, who's going to come in and he's going to speak at our Paratrooper breakfast. His inspirational message is going to be presented to the young paratroopers. And it's going to provide those young paratroopers the opportunity to engage with all of our veteran forefathers. And that's what All-American Week is about. There will be some events that we have that we are going to put a little bit more effort into it to try to bring it to that next level. You know, as always, we have our World War I and II reenactors at the Hall of Heroes. You know, I think we're going to have more this year than we've ever had before. You know, as I engage with different people that I know that have served in the division, a lot more of them are coming back to spend this All-American Week with us. And that's what's going to make the Centennial special, is reaching out and getting as many people as possible who have served in the division and our paratroopers to come back, enjoy this open house that we're going to have, because that's what All-American Week is about. It's not about the games and the things that are there. It's about the fellowship of bringing paratroopers together, and we want to make sure that everybody understands our division is just as ready as it ever was.
What are you most excited about for All-American Week this year, Sergeant Major?
Most people think that I'm most excited about the combatives in boxing. Although I think those are going to be outstanding events, I truly am most excited about the Airborne Review and the ability to demonstrate our full spectrum of capabilities to both our veterans and the community, to show that we're ready to answer our nation's call at a moment's notice. You truly have to understand what the Airborne Review is. You know, so not only is it a joint effort, but it's going to be combined as well. We have jumpers from 16th UK, the 3rd French Division, you know, an element from Germany, Greece, Italy, and Poland. They'll all be on 30 C-17s that is going to deliver 2,500 jumpers and 10 heavy drop platforms to the drop zone. We'll have a follow-on air assault gun raid with 777s. And we'll sort of wind it out with an off-DZ air assault by an assaulting force. This is what readiness is. It really shows that we're ready to answer our nation's call, no matter what it may be. We have those capabilities.
And also with whoever it may be partnered with, Sergeant Major.
You're absolutely right. That's why it's so important that we're doing it as a combined effort. You know, throughout our history, you look, we have fought with our coalition partners on our left and right for many years, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Now, we've been talking about All-American Week already. Obviously, our podcast audience, not everyone is served in the division, but they're learning about the division through the podcast. For the listeners that aren't aware of what All-American Week is, we should probably step back and maybe let them know what it is. Can you just give them a kind of a quick idea of what All-American Week actually is for the uninformed, Sergeant Major?
Truly, you know, to fully grasp what All-American Week is, you got to experience it. But, you know, it's a celebration of our culture and our legacy. The 82nd Airborne Division is unlike any other division in our Army. What we do is dangerous and it's special. And for 1 week, we come together, we celebrate what we do. I sort of equate it to a type of an open house where we can showcase both not only our talents, but the division as a whole.
Now, this is quite a big undertaking, obviously a whole week's worth of events. It's kind of our open house to the rest of the world and the nation to come in and see us. How long, or can you give us an idea of the planning and preparation that's gone into the All-American Week for this year?
That's an enormous undertaking. So planning is really, you know, we start in earnest in about the December time frame and really start, you know, bringing everything together. It's really about making sure everything properly honors our legacy, as well as, you know, doing it safely. And like we talked about, it's like, our homecoming, our open house, and that's the key is to make sure that we honor the 82nd Airborne Division and those paratroopers that served before us.
So what number All-American Week will this be for you, Sergeant Major?
I sit here and I try to think and count. It's really just too many All-American Weeks to count. They all start to run together, and remembering standing out on Pike Field, doing the division review in the sun and the beret tan line that everybody gets. They're all special, and it's hard to, distinguish them apart.
Outside of distinguishing individual All-American Weeks, what are some of your favorite memories throughout the years?
There's countless memories that I could recall for All-American Week. But the one that really sticks out the most is 2 years ago, as I was coming into position as All-American 9, days before All-American Week, I specifically remember the airborne review and standing there in the aircraft, getting stand up and hook up, looking over to the right, seeing General Clark going through his actions in the aircraft, him looking back and giving me the thumbs up, and then standing there waiting on the green light, him exiting and me exiting right after him. That was a special moment. It's a moment that I'll never forget. And as I sit and I think about it, this is why you wear the AA patch. It's what it's all about.
So moving away from All-American Week, Sergeant Major, what does it mean to you to be All-American 9 as we celebrate the Centennial here at the division?
It means everything. I've been an All-American Paratrooper for about 15 years now. When you serve here, it's just different. It's a different feel, a different bond. When you look back at all the Command Sergeant Majors who've come before, like Sergeant Major England, Thorpe, Amaker, Capel, Lambert, Knowles, those who set the standard as All-American 9 as I progressed through the ranks of the division. And to now be mentioned in the same sentence with them, it's humbling. It's an enormous responsibility to get it right.
So having been jumping out of airplanes for about 20 years, Sergeant Major, obviously you've spent quite a bit of time in the division, so you're pretty well versed in its history. What are some of your favorite memories throughout the All-Americans' history?
Oh, that's difficult because the 82nd Airborne Division's done a lot of stuff. You talk about D-Day, the Wall River, the Dominican Republic, Panama. All this history is so important to us. That legacy that we're left with, is what All-American legends did in Holland, St. Miragelis, Vietnam. And, of course, you can't forget World War I with Alvin York and the Cold War. All those things come together. But I would have to say that if I had to pick the one period that stands out most, it would be the operations at St. Miragelis. And I think it's because I can connect with that. And the reason why is I had the unique opportunity to go back during a D-Day commemoration. And I had the opportunity to do the staff ride there at Lafayette Bridge and see where those paratroopers fought and died. I got to actually go and stand where Private DeGlopper earned his Medal of Honor. For me, being in the division for so long and to hear how this battle transpired and to stand in those places and to actually picture it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience that, I hope everybody has the opportunity. I will never forget it, and I think maybe that's why that period touches me a little bit more.
And I would say, when I had the opportunity to go there, Sergeant Major, I experienced the people of that region are just absolutely amazing in how they preserve that history and the support that they give every year when we come back for the commemoration, or even if you come out of season, the amount that they do to celebrate what the 82nd did there at St. Miragelis in that whole region.
I think you're absolutely right. The people there of Normandy have not forgotten. And they pass it on generation to generation. As young kids who you would think that the battle was the day before because they're reciting it and they're telling it from a perspective of they were standing there.
So obviously we're here talking on the All-American Legacy podcast, Sergeant Major. This is a new medium for us, a new initiative that we started this year to honor and be able to retell the story or the history of the 82nd Airborne Division. Why is the All-American Legacy podcast important to you?
If you're a member of the 82nd Airborne Division, you have to know the history. You have to know it is just as important as knowing how to operate your weapon. We're all of these symbols, the AA, the beret, the jump boots. That's all our DNA. Personal courage is in our bloodline, so we just got to know those stories and where they come from. And if we don't understand that history, we'll never get there. That's the one thing that on my watch, I want to make sure we don't lose. I don't want us to lose that historical lineage that has been built by all of our forefathers.
And obviously part of that history is every paratrooper who comes through this division, and those paratroopers currently serving. One day they're all going to eventually leave the division, whether it's getting out of the Army, retiring, moving on to another unit and coming back. But one of your big initiatives that we started up recently is the Paratrooper for Life program. You're very passionate about this, and you're trying to set our paratroopers up for success once they leave. Can you tell us a little bit about this new program?
So we all talk about the Paratrooper for Life, and it's a new program. Really, all we did was we adopted the Soldier for Life program. Of course, we got to put our moniker on it because we're all paratroopers. Part of it is we just got to look at reality. All of us, sooner or later, are going to hang up our uniform, whether we want to or not. Eventually, we all time out, and we've got to realize that. And so we have a responsibility to provide a responsible transition for those paratroopers to civilian life. It's extremely important that as an individual transitions out of the military, that they have a soft landing by employment on the outside, connections on the outside, and that they can move forward. No matter what your situation, everybody has sacrificed to be in the military. And we want to make sure that we are doing that responsible transition to repay, just a little bit for that sacrifice. We'll never be able to make up for it, but every little bit that we can do counts. The other part is so every one of those paratroopers that leave, they're an ambassador. They're an ambassador for our Army. They're an ambassador for the 82nd Airborne Division. They're going to go out and they're going to help us recruit our future service members, our future paratroopers. And so if we don't transition them correctly, they're not going to be as passionate about that recruitment aspect. That's another reason why I think it's important that we make sure that we're doing those responsible transitions.
Now, part of that has been a little more connection with the community and some of the service jobs that are out there. What have we done in kind of that department?
So here recently, we've had the opportunity. We've brought in the local fire departments, the local police departments. We're getting ready to bring in some transportation, different transportation professionals. And the intent is to bring them in, show them what paratroopers offer them. And what we find out is that every time they're like, that's exactly the person I'm looking for. And so what we're doing is we're connecting them. We're connecting our young paratroopers with those service jobs and those community leaders that, hey, we've got paratroopers leaving the service every day. They have the skills that you want, and we just connect those two. All it is we just had to take and highlight what our paratroopers are. Here recently, we've been talking a lot about our paratrooper profile, what a paratrooper looks like and what builds that paratrooper. And that's it, is all we did was show them the paratrooper profile, and they wanted some of it.
I don't know how you can't. I mean, paratroopers do it best. So as you go around and you talk to people about the Paratrooper for Life program, what kind of responses are you getting? Are people into this? Are they seeing the effects yet? Or
I think at first, as we put more and more focus on it, there was apprehension. So you had apprehension by the chain of command of, hey, you're taking all of our good people and telling them to get out of the Army, out of the division. And I'm like, no, we're not. Eventually people are going to separate. So we just got to take care of the people as they separate. And I think we're past the apprehension because now people are seeing that as individuals transition, they're actually transitioning into jobs that they want. And then some of them, what we do is as they're getting out there and they're getting closer and closer to separation, what they find is that grass isn't as always as green on the other side as you think it is. and they decide that they want to go ahead and continue to stay and continue to serve, a little bit longer. I think we're getting more and more buy-in. I know with the local community, they're banging down the doors trying to figure out how they can get more and more of our paratroopers. Paratroopers are feeling like we're taking care of them and that we care, not only for the paratroopers, but we care for the family as well. So that's the important thing. Is this isn't lip service, and it isn't to make us feel better about ourselves. We just want everybody to know that we truly care about not only our paratroopers, but our paratroopers' families. Because at any time, like we've talked about, that call can come. And we have to be ready to deploy and defend our nation.
And the families are the ones who support us to be able to do that on a day in and day out basis. It's truly remarkable kind of what they put up with to allow us to do what we do. So that's kind of taking care of the paratroopers that are leaving the division, Sergeant Major. But we also have another new initiative going on in the division for those that are incoming. It's the Airborne Integration Course. Can you tell us a little bit about this and what we're doing there?
As you know, this is extremely important to me. So this is how we onboard our new paratroopers into the division. And it doesn't matter whether you're an E9 or an E1, an O1 or an 06. You attend the Airborne Integration Course. And what we do is ensure that we give you a taste of the division's history. It's a one-week program. We give you a taste of the division's history, give you a taste of what the standards are, and help lay that foundation for you. And ensure that everybody understands that they're an important member of the team. That's one of the big focuses, is showing that everybody's important to our team. We focus on readiness, and we want to take and remove some of those requirements that we were levying on the company troop batteries and battalions, and we take care of those before the individual even goes down to that company troop battery. That's so important, so that once they arrive there, they're ready to deploy. And so that was a big focus we wanted to alleviate. It's also the first opportunity for us to get a face-to-face between our sponsors and the paratroopers, and to make sure that that they've met each other, they've been communicating via phone, text, emails, and all these other mediums, but there we can make sure it's a true face-to-face. And I personally think that you can solve a lot more face-to-face than you can through all of our electronic mediums that we like to use. You got to keep in mind, this is a new program. We've been going now for about 4 months. Like all initiatives, it's going to take time to get it 100% where we want it. But every day I think we get a little bit better. With every class, we get some feedback, and I think we're better for doing it.
And because this is our program and it's still pretty fresh, that feedback that we receive, we're able to transition in almost immediately, right?
Oh, absolutely. Immediately we're doing additions to the course. I'll give you an example. Is we do a quick class on the proper wear of a beret and things. Through some feedback, they're like, hey, it would be really nice to do a beret ceremony. And so what we did is we initiated a full beret ceremony at the end of a sort of a demanding PT event. They do an actual beret ceremony. It adds a little bit more pride as the individuals are donning that beret after that PT event. With it, as we continue to get the feedback, we'll continue to make improvements.
And with the Airborne Integration Course, Sergeant Major, it's not just about the paratroopers that are coming in, right? I mean, this gives us our first touch point kind of with the families.
You're absolutely right. We actually have an entire day dedicated to the families. So it's a day of classes that the young paratroopers get, but it's open to their families as well. We do a bus tour on post that not only shows some of the key things that family members would need to know, but it also shows some of those places that you'll hear your paratroopers talk about. Green Ramp, the parachute issue facility, the division ready cage. So we show those things so that at night, whenever your young paratrooper comes home and is talking about how he had to set out at the division ready cage all night long, you know exactly where he's talking about. And we think that's important. The families can relate to what the paratrooper is going through on a daily basis. And that's what our intent is to break down some of those barriers, those communication barriers, by leveling the playing field.
So I think we're just about out of time, Sergeant Major, but is there anything else you want to add? We covered a lot of topics today, All-American Week, the Centennial, the Paratrooper for Life, the Airborne Integration Course. Obviously this is just kind of a couple of small things that we have going on currently in the division, but there's a lot of stuff out there. Is there anything else that you want to touch on before we go?
First, I got to reiterate how proud I am to have the opportunity to be the Command Sergeant Major for the 82nd Airborne Division. But, I think we really got to circle back to sort of where we started. Out there to all of our alumni, supporters, you only have one Centennial. I hope to see you here.
And that, once again, was Command Sergeant Major Michael Green. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and will join us for All-American Week 100, May 22nd through 25th, right here at the center of the military universe, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. As Sergeant Major Green said, we only have one Centennial. We hope we see you there. As always, the All-American Legacy Podcast is produced by the 82nd Airborne Division Public Affairs Office. The ratings and reviews you leave help others find the show, so please leave a rating and review, and we thank you for all the support. We'll see you next week. All the way, Airborne.